But let's jump into this. We have an hour. I want to honor that and stick with it today. So this is part one of a three-part series. And the reason for that is first, there's so much we can cover with AI and marketing. And secondly, because even just picking one topic, I don't believe is enough because there's so much that goes into it. So we want to cover as much as possible. And then we are also, I'm just planting the seed, we are also going to encourage you to at least take a look at the Marketing Accelerator coaching group, which in January is like a new revised with AI focus. And that's because this is what's happening with marketing for accountants. Like for years, I've been telling you all, be involved in your marketing, write your own content or record your own videos or collaborate at least somewhat. And now with AI, a lot of you are starting to look at how you can do that, which is great. And I totally support it. And at the same time, there's some dangers, there's some frustrations, there's some things that don't work and or don't work yet. AI is continually adapting. So we want to address those things and help you use AI better. And I do also want to address the fact that, PF still exists because we help with strategy. We help with the data and the analytics and looking at patterns and bringing the human oversight and the experience that we have over the last 14 years working with accountants. So we have all of those things that we can help you with. And that's what we want to point out. What bits do you do? What bits do you get help with? And it's going to vary depending on your firm. So, uh, for those of you who are less familiar with me, I am a qualified accountant myself. I'm a CPA in the States, although I live and work in Scotland now. Been in the US half my life, Scotland half my life, dual British American citizen. I've written The Accountant Marketer, which most of you have a copy of. If you do not have one, let us know and we'll send you the link to it. There's the paperback, the audiobook, or the ebook. And there's another second book coming out. We now have an on sale date of April 2026, which I'm very excited about. And this one is so relevant to what we're talking about today because it's on the mindset of creativity. You all are creative human beings, whether you feel like it or think you are or believe that every day, you absolutely are. And I want the second book to help you like recognize that and believe that about yourself so that you can lean into your best marketing, your best business, even your best life. So I've been running PF since 2012. We're exclusive to accountants and the Accelerator Coaching Group, which I told you I was going to plant some seeds about. We've now done 20, we're on our 21st intake of this. We've been running it for 10 years. We have 529 accountants who have graduated from it. I need to run the numbers on how many have repeated it. It's probably about a third of that number. Most people take it twice or three times. And that coaching group is for understanding how marketing applies to accountants. So if you find these master classes useful, even more so will you find the accelerator useful, and there's a new one starting in January. So I have a special code for you at the end of the session, so make sure you get that. If you have to drop off before I give you the code, just send us an email or drop us a note and we'll get it to you. So the things we're going to cover today in terms of AI and content creation is the specific area. We're going to look at market research. We're going to look at data and analytics in the next two sessions. But this one is on the one that probably is at the top of most of your minds, which is, okay, how do I create website copy, email copy, social media posts, those kinds of things. So we're going to go back to your ideal client. I know any of you who've gone through the accelerator, worked with PF, know we're obsessed with helping you figure out who your ideal client is. Your brand voice. Again, if you've worked with PF, you might have one of these. Some of you don't have one or it's outdated. Really critical so that stuff doesn't sound GPT. We're going to talk about prompts and we're going to try out some ideas. I would love to hear anything that you guys are thinking of creating or wondering about. And we've also got a strategic marketing GPT that we have created that's got 14 years of PF methodology, all of our resources, the entire content of the Accountant Marketer is in there. And that is free for you to use. And I want to show you how to use it and use it well. So in the chat box is just drop in there what kind of, if you could have a piece of content created by the end of this masterclass, what would it be? Would it be a website page, an email, social post, a social calendar? Just drop anything in there that you're thinking of or that you're considering. If you're already using AI to create content, feel free to drop that in and say, well, I'm already doing this, but maybe I could do that better. Okay, so we have LinkedIn posts. And Hillary, by easy to do, I presume you mean you don't have to spend absolute ages on it. It's pretty good once you get in there. Okay, we'll talk about that. A signature storytelling series. Okay, I love this, Morgan, and I want to hear more about that. And when you say kick off a channel, maybe just drop me a few more notes about what you mean by that. I'm very curious about that one. This is a good idea. Ashley, website, the whole website, Ashley, all the content, everything written for that. That would be the dream, done by the end of this masterclass. I'm gonna give you a spoiler alert. That's not gonna happen. Actually, you could do it, but it would be crap. So this is what we're gonna talk about, is how to make it good. Blog posts, social media posts, creating campaigns and engagement posts. These are really helpful points. So we will look at all of these things for sure. And all of these things come back to, it's so tempting to just want the magic unlock. This is a direct quote from one of our clients, actually, who was attending a session I was doing on AI and marketing. And I said, why are you attending this session? He said, well, I'm always looking for this magic unlock. It just would really be great to have this marketing made a bit easier. And the challenge with marketing is it's like anything long-term, improving your health, exercise, raising children, any of those things that takes a long time and has a big investment to it. And whilst there are things that you can do, there are quick wins, there are tricks, there are whatever, ultimately it is a bit of a long-term game, marketing. And AI taps into a little bit into the dream that we have, that we can just click a button and have our entire website written for us. And the danger is you can. You can click a button and have the entire website written for you. It will be bad. It will be generic. It will be boring. It will not help you get your ideal client, but it will be some words. And this is the chat. Like, again, none of this is about don't use AI. Use it, but use it well, because we always have to put ourselves in the mind of the visitor and the buyer. And the challenge we currently have with AI, and all of this is caveated by the fact that AI is continually changing, getting better, improving. But at this moment, it is still just a gatherer of everything else that's already out there. It has preconceived ideas. It has gender bias. It has words and phrases. You guys know, you see some of these LinkedIn posts and you're like, bing, AI. That is for sure AI. I can tell because it uses all these little, from chaos to clarity, and it has all these emojis, and it's all perfectly organized. If you do use AI and get a good post, maybe put a little spelling mistake in there, decapitalize something, like help it be a little bit more human. But because we're looking for this magic unlock, the temptation is to come to AI and go, can you write me a blog post about this? Thanks, bye. And the thing is, GPT, I'll use that as an example, though any AI tool is the same, it will do it. It will do it. It will say, sure, Abby, I will write you the world's best blog post and I will do it today. Here you go. And if you don't question it, if you don't push back, if you don't say, I'm not sure that fits my ideal audience, and if you don't ask it questions, it's going to be like, I have done my job. I have achieved. And you're going to think it's done its job too. So I want to help you with the background things that you need to train AI with. Some of you will have these, some of you will have some of it, but just bear in mind that your business, your firm is always changing. So even if you have a brand summary of your audience from 3 years ago, it's probably a little different now. If you had a brand voice created a year ago, it's probably a little different now. I hope it's different now. Your business needs to keep changing. So you need to create these things so that you can just upload them into AI and be like, here's our brand voice document. Here's our brand summary. Here's our ideal audience. Here's some data from the last 6 months of our website. Here's what our clients care about. Here's the results from our client success survey or whatever data that you have. And then asking AI to pull it together and look for patterns and identify things. That's where it really does shine. So I've seen a lot of accountants creating, LinkedIn posts or blog posts or website content, but if you don't push back, it's going to be really bland. We've even had one client who went away, had a whole other company create a website for him. He's like, listen, it's pretty expensive with PF. I'll just go and get it done elsewhere. And he did, and he paid the money and he got the whole site. And he said, this is like the world's worst site. Now I got to go back to PF. And, I'll give him credit. He came back. He said, you know what? That did not work. They clearly just generated it from AI and it's not going to be useful. So it's that combination of strategy and what you know, and then letting AI look for patterns. So these are 5 things that you need. The good news is I'm going to cut it down to the top 2, but these 5 things ideally you have to upload into whatever you're using, whether it's AI or sorry, whether it's GPT or Claude or Notebook LM or whatever it is. But if you have these, then every time you go to write a blog post, you say, remember, my ideal client is this. Remember, this is our voice. This is the approach we take. These are the concerns that our clients have. These are all the other assets that we've created. And when you have that, it improves it. It still doesn't magically fix it. I have uploaded all of these things into our GPT, and every day I'm going, no, that's not quite it. That's not quite it. I know I uploaded all these things, but you still got this a little bit off. But it's a lot further forward. I will say that. So, what I would love for you to do right now is look at these 5 and tell me which ones you have, if any. If you have none, just put none. But if you have a documented, even if it's rough, a document of your ideal client or a documented brand voice or a graphic about your approach, your way of doing things, drop it into the chat. I'm just curious what you guys have already. Okay, so in your head, very classic. I'm 100% sure you're not alone there. If it's in your head, this is great news. You can use GPT and you can use the PF GPT, which is going to strategically help you to get it out of your head. So that would be the first step before you go to creating blog posts or creating website pages or whatever it is, LinkedIn posts. Then you're going to need to document who your ideal client is and get that in there. Now, I know some of you, a couple other people have put in they have client and voice. I would say ideal client is usually the top one that people have. Brand voice is becoming more of a thing, which I'm pleased to hear. But when you go into the GPT and say, I'm just going to download all of the information that I have about my ideal client, it can begin to put that into a document for you and remember it so that you can get to these other things. And we'll look at some examples of that as well. So I would say the top 2 are your ideal client and your voice. If you have both of those documented, I would just double check and make sure they're absolutely accurate. They've been updated within the last month or 2, and you have both of those and you're ready for it. And if you've fed it into Clive, Claude, whatever it be, then you are in a good place to then ask it other things. I'm just going to jump out and show you the GPT here so you get a sense of it. Beth, could you drop the wearepf.com GPT link for those who need it? And that way you can even be using it live while we're doing this if you wish. But I just wanted to give you an example here. So if you don't have one yet, then you can go into this GPT and say, I need to create a document of my ideal client. And then I would suggest that you say, can you ask me questions about who this client is and how I know? And then hopefully it is going to come back and say, this is how I'm going to ask you these questions. Well done for starting with questions first. And good news is it often will remind you of other things that you can download. It's jumping to the brand voice already, which, GPT isn't perfect. And it's got some foundational questions. Who's your favorite client? Why are they your favorite? What was happening? What problem did they have? All these kinds of things. So you can either type out the answers, you can download other documents. My favorite is the dictation thing. I use this all the time. I literally wrote probably 90% of a blog post on a drive from the Scottish Highlands through the Scottish Highlands down to Glasgow. I was catching a flight, and I just spent about a half an hour just dictating things into my GPT on my phone. And then when I arrived and I was sitting at the airport, I then was able to pull it together and edit it into a blog post. And it was just stuff that was in my head. And this is so useful to use this to download whatever you have here and get yourself a document that way. So you can do that with the ideal client. You can also do that with the brand voice questionnaire. So I'll just jump to this one because I did it right before the masterclass. If you ask the PFGPT, can you give me the brand voice questionnaire? Can you ask me? It's either going to ask you the questions or it's going to give you the link and you can open the link and go straight there. And we've created this so that you can help determine your own brand voice. Now, you may need a little extra help with it eventually, and that's what we're here for. But the brand voice is about like what's your personality? What's the feelings you want people to have when they work with you? What kinds of things do you say? What do you not say? What do you love? What do you hate? So you fill in as much of that, and at least you can make some progress towards these so that when you go to create your LinkedIn posts or your campaigns or any of those things, that you have a starting point to use it from. Does that make sense? So a couple of the resources that are really useful, we use what we call a brand summary at PF, which is this is who our ideal client is. This is what their business characteristics are. These are their desires. These are their problems. Again, you can use the PF GPT and be like, hey, I need to create a brand summary. Can you ask me questions about my ideal client and get that documented? Same thing with the brand voice, and you can use that. Another layer that you can go deeper is their concerns and fears. And a couple of you have been through our gap analysis, so you'll be familiar with this. But this is where we identify all the issues that your clients face, and then we work backwards into what kind of an asset could I create? Because a lot of times, if we're looking at looking here at some of the things you guys want to create, like social media posts, blog posts, website pages, storytelling series. All of those things come back to what is the issue that this person is facing? Because a lot of times we're thinking, okay, I need a blog post. Well, why do you need a blog post? Who do you need the blog post for? How are you going to use it? How are you going to share it? And again, you can use the GPT or the other tools to ask you questions about that. But I would remind you, make sure you tell it, like, push back on this to me. Don't tell me this is the world's greatest idea. Ask me how this could be better. What if this didn't work? And that makes a big difference because GPT is always going to tell you that it's great. It's always going to say, oh, wonderful idea, Monica. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I cannot believe it. And it's saying the same thing to Abby, same thing to me, same thing to Bev. It's telling everybody it's great. And I do know a lot of people who have started telling GPT, hey, check in with me, ask questions, push back, don't just always praise me. And that is a tough one because we like to be praised and we like to be winning and we like to be positive. So coming up with the issues that your clients face and then saying, okay, so for example, drop into, we'll do it live, drop into the chat kind of a reason that somebody would come to you as their accountant or bookkeeper, an issue, a problem they have. Maybe, their current accountant has let them down or they don't know how much tax they have to pay, something like that. Just drop in one of those issues that you've had a sales call and they're like, oh, this is my problem. This is why I need your help. I'll put a couple of those in here while you're thinking of it. Um, have been let down by previous accountant. That's one we've heard from a lot of people. Current accountant doesn't respond. Exactly. So we'll say they just don't even respond at all sometimes. Very similar with Abby. It took months for them to get they're not even getting their financials. They don't even know the financial status of their business because they're not getting it. Accountant has been bought by Big. Don't get the same level of service. These are some really interesting ones, which are totally normal. A lot of people have that. So there's a real theme there with the previous accountant isn't helping you. So what you could do with these is back into them by saying, okay, so since they've been let down, and since they are not getting their current accountant to respond in a timely manner, so Morgan, a good question for you would be, what does that result in? So because they're not getting responses from their accountant, what are they missing? What's happening or not happening that is frustrating for them? You can either unmute or just drop that in the chat.
They literally said they just don't feel special.
Oh, okay. Interesting. And how does it affect their business, or have they said?
They didn't, sorry, I'm a little hoarse. They didn't necessarily say, um, but they just didn't feel like they were a priority.
Mm. So that would be their feeling, right? That's very interesting. So they haven't even said to you, and therefore this means that I'm not able to make good decisions about my business or whatever. They're like, listen, my feeling on this is that I'm not important. I'm not priority. I don't feel special. So if you're then looking at your services and what you guys provide, then what is the core message that they need to hear? I would guess that that is you are important to us, you are a priority, and here is how. I always say show rather than tell wherever you can. So don't tell people they're a priority. Say, this is how we show you you're a priority. You are assigned this person, or our onboarding process is this. This is how you know you're a priority. And then there will probably be a service. This could be all the services you offer, but there could be a particular service that helps them know they're a priority. Do you have a particular kind of service?
I wouldn't say it's a particular service. Our brand is centered around being tranquil. So
Right.
our business is called Tranquil Transactions. So
Mhm.
feeling is super core to our brand identity.
Okay, excellent. So therefore, it permeates all services most likely that you have. So a potential asset that you could create, or that any of you could create who have this, is has this happened to you with your previous accountant? So this could be a blog post, it could be a video, it could be a PDF guide. Like there's all different kinds of formats that it could be, but instead of doing a blog post about 10 things to improve your taxes, you're saying any of these striking you? Are you not really feeling like a priority to your current accountant? Are you never getting your financials? Are you not getting the service you think? Do you expect that a real accountant is just somebody who talks to you once a year? So you could have like a summary of those and then address each one and say, check these things. Because if these are all true, I want to show you, remember, show versus tell, I want to show you our approach and how we do things. So this, summary of issues is again, is really going to help you with creating content for using AI, because then you go into AI and say, right, I know that these are the issues that my clients are facing. So as I am writing this blog post or this social post, please bear in mind this issue and this feeling, and I want you to address this feeling, and I want you to help me come up with a way to say it so that they feel heard. So you've now changed this from, okay, I guess I have to write a, you know, social media post about something. I don't know, maybe I'll talk about our services. And instead, you're addressing their issues and their feelings, because buying anything, including accounting firm services, is an emotional decision as well as a logical one. And a lot of times, the emotion that the buyers are feeling is overwhelming everything else. So when you know what the issues are, Then you can start to say, okay, well, here's the resources and assets that we can create. And again, you can use AI to help you create those. But I would caution you to focus on the issues and the audience before you start telling it, I definitely need a blog post. I definitely need social media posts. It might be good to explore a little bit like what kinds of content might I create? Now, again, AI is probably going to recommend the standard stuff. It's going to say you need a PDF guide, you need an email campaign, you need this, you need this. And it doesn't mean that it's wrong, but there's some creative mindset things that you have that you can get it to draw out of you. So one good example is a client of ours in South Carolina, and he came to me and said, "We've just met this local wine bar owner. We went to the wine bar. We loved the wine bar. How could I get them as a client?" And we brainstormed a few things. I asked a bunch of questions, and we came up with some suggestions of direction he could go. And then I thought, just for a laugh, I'm going to type this into GPT and be like, "Hey, what kind of thing could we create for wine bar owners or for this wine bar owner that would be, an opportunity maybe to get them as a client?" And of course, GPT was like, "You need a PDF guide." And I was like, this is a wine bar owner who has just opened like 3 months ago and is swamped and busy and overwhelmed and constantly dealing with team members and staff being off and what wine to order. Do you really think they're going to read a PDF guide? And GPT was like, "Oh, that's a good point. Maybe not." So we started just throwing ideas around. And by the end of it, we had come up with this like coaster size little booklet with QR codes where Jonathan, the owner, was talking through some of the issues that wine bars or restaurants would have. I'm like, that may or may not be what they end up doing or what is useful, but it's a damn sight better than here's a PDF guide. I mean, imagine handing that to a business owner, that I really don't think they're going to be like, wow, this just answers all of my questions. So, using it to help you think about different formats in which to get across these issues. And the great part is that when you do that, AI has great power of pulling stuff out of your head, but you need to ask it questions. You need to push it. You need to push back. And I'll say it, I've said it multiple times, never ever accept the first answer from GPT or any AI tool. You always got to push back and ask more and ask more. And if you get it to write you a blog post or a social media post and you go, cool, thanks, bye, it's going to be the world's most generic, even when you've already told it your ideal client and your brand voice, because the first round is just, it's very rare anyway. If any of you get there in the first round, well done, and you've obviously trained it really well. I still haven't after several years, and I've uploaded tons of stuff there. It still takes a lot of back and forth. And the last LinkedIn post I did, I finally just dictated the whole thing and then just edited it slightly because it just went round in circles and it kept trying to rephrase my words in a GPT way, which is not going to help. So documenting your brand voice, we already looked at that, so we'll skip that. If you need that, code is for the GPT if you need it. And this is your reminder that the 8-week coaching group that we do covers this among many other things. We start with your audience. We look at the issues. We talk about your approach and your way and your brand and your website. And we've been doing this for 10 years. And the next intake, we're going to say, okay, how do you get more out of AI to figure out your audience? How do you use AI to help you with website copy? So going to Ashley was saying, love to have some website content. The same thing would apply. Who is this website content for? What is this page? What is the audience? What are their issues? How are they feeling? In the second session that we do in January, we're going to be talking about market research into your clients. What do they, where are they? How many of them are they? What are they struggling with? What kind of issues do they have? And the more you can load in there, you can even use tool, like you can tell it to use a certain tool. Has anybody read StoryBrand? Drop a emoji or a yes into the chat if you have. If you haven't, one of the top books, good. One of the top books for website content particularly, because it's all around this concept of story. You can go into GPT, including the PF one, and say, I want you to act as a story brand consultant. And I want you to help me craft a website page for this. But first, I want you to ask me questions about why I'm creating this page and who it's for and what the call to action is and why it exists. I want you to ask me questions about my website analytics, how many people are coming to my site. And sometimes even the process of asking GPT to ask you this, you go, I don't know if I even know my website analytics. Well, that's a gap that you've just discovered, and you need to figure that out. Because if you're getting 25 views to your website each month, maybe now's not the time to be building lots of website pages. Maybe you need to get some more views first before you start creating these pages. It can be a catch-22. And again, we'll cover that in the third masterclass in the series where we'll talk about your data and your analytics. Because ultimately, what are you doing all of this marketing for except to get results? So you need to be tracking those and see the impact. So whilst it can be really helpful, it definitely needs you and it needs you to push it a little bit. Some of the things I've noticed is that GPT, I'm going to say that one, amongst the other ones, but same kind of thing, is as curious as you are. So if you ask questions and if you push back and if you say, I want you to dig in deeper, then it's going to do it. And if you don't and you just accept what it gives you, it's going to be bland and it's not going to go anywhere. Second one is that it always presumes the best. We talked about that. It always tells you you're great, always. So get it to push back a little, get it to say, how might this go wrong? And actually, that example I gave you of the wine bar, I remember specifically saying, okay, what are all the reasons that this could completely fail? And it came up with a whole bunch of reasons. They might not read it because they're so busy. They might not want something that's paper because they're, busy in the wine bar. They might not look at it because they don't know you. So even those things, if you say act as my most, suspicious or uh, cynical prospect and tell me all the questions that they might ask. And it's going to give you a lot more to go on because if you can take all of those questions and then flip them around and just be honest about them. Say, have you had an accountant in the past where they just didn't respond? This is how we address it. Did it take months after period end to even see the financials? This is how we address it. So helping it to help you, it means asking it to ask you questions. It's also going to rush you to decisions. It is constantly going, do you want me to turn that into a PDF guide? Do you want me to turn that into a LinkedIn carousel? Do you want me to turn that into a LinkedIn carousel and a website page and a new brand? And you're like, hang on, hang on. So whenever it does that, you can be like, yeah, that's cool, but actually let's go back. And you push yourself to think like, are we ready for that? That is the thing. It's constantly just being like, let's go forward, let's go forward. And it is presuming that it's nailed it. And if you go, do you know what? You really haven't nailed it. What's it going to say? You're so right. Absolutely. That is so true. We did not do it. So you still do need to lead it, and it only knows what you tell it and what is publicly available, on the World Wide Web. And that's the other trouble. So many times you ask it to write you a blog post about cash flow. There's a lot of blog posts about cash flow out there, but who's it for? Why does it exist? How can you make it more you? Because people expect things to be AI now. They're suspicious of it constantly. I've seen loads of posts from people that are like, literally wasn't AI. I brought it from my own head and now I'm being accused of using AI. I actually had somebody give me a 1-star review on Amazon because they said clearly she wrote this book with GPT. I'm like, which didn't even exist when I published it, but okay, cool. But that's what people are going to do is they're going to presume it's AI because the buyer has this sort of just a little bit cynical, suspicious view, and not because they want to be. They've been burned, they've had bad experiences. So we want to make it as human as possible, but we want to use AI to save us time. So that blog post I wrote whilst driving, because I was just dictating, I just downloaded everything that was in my head, which was quite a lot, And then you can also, I mean, note takers are your win there, like Fathom or Otter or whatever it is that you use. Take all the notes that you have from the last couple client meetings or sales meetings and ask it to look for patterns. What are the top 7 questions that people ask me in sales calls? That's a wonderful thing to do. We have a whole resource we created called buyer focused content. It's the top kind of content that your buyers want. And I mean, you could take that guide and load it into GPT and be like, I want to create all of this content. There's quite a lot in it. Um, and all of it comes back to questions that they are wondering. And we're thinking, oh, they're wondering about how much it costs. Okay, maybe they are, but they're also wondering, who do I work with? How long does it take? Is there a project first and then we do other stuff? Do I need any new tech or whatever their questions are? And then you can turn that into content. So let's go back to some of the things that you guys want to create. So we have LinkedIn posts. So I would say for that one, load up in there, get your ideal audience documented first. I would, and this will be in our second session. So if you can come to that or catch the recording, we'll talk about using AI to dig into, are my ideal clients on LinkedIn? Maybe you already know that, but it's good to check and say, here's my ideal audience. These are the kind of people. This is the size, this is the type. Can you act as a LinkedIn strategist and tell me what percentage of these people tend to be on LinkedIn and how active they are? And then, of course, you can do the work of following some of your clients, checking to see and getting a sense of it as well. The good thing with AI and marketing is you can use your gut feel and then you can use some research and you can combine them. So once you've done that, then it's, what are the issues that they have? What are the questions they're wondering? What would be useful and helpful to them? One of the most successful things I've seen on LinkedIn is people who just say, do you have this problem? Here's how to fix it. So they're literally helping people. They're not just talking vaguely like, oh, if you have this problem, you need to talk to your accountant. They're just giving a very specific thing. And people go, oh my gosh, that's so useful. Thank you so much. You're wonderful. And it's practical and helpful. LinkedIn also does great with storytelling. So it's interesting. Morgan was asking about a storytelling series to kick off like Instagram or Facebook. So I'll come back to that. LinkedIn loves stories. It loves selfies, by the way. Like, that is a great way to get your post to be seen a bit more because people do business with people. So if you load all of that in there and say, now I've got some idea of the kinds of things, what kind of post could I write about? You're a long way from saying, write me the LinkedIn post. You need the ideal audience, you need the brand voice, you need the issues, you need the research on whether they're on LinkedIn at all. And then just take it stage by stage. Like I said, AI is always going to rush you. It's going to be like, do you want me to create the LinkedIn post now? Do you want me to write it now? Do you want me to write it now? And you're going, hold on. Can you just give me the top 7 posts based on all this stuff I've given you that might be useful? You could even ask it to search, if it's allowed to do this. I think it is because LinkedIn is a public site. Search and find LinkedIn posts that are like this, that I could do one similar to. Don't copy it, but steal like an artist. They did one like that. I'm going to do one sort of like that. And then there's a whole other thing that I won't go into today, but it's relevant to all of these things is that LinkedIn posts are one small part of a bigger strategy. And the bigger strategy could be, who are you following? Who are you connecting with? Who are you sending direct messages to? How often are you commenting or engaging on posts? It's not enough to just post. You have to be present. There's a there's a LinkedIn podcast I listened to, must be about 2 years ago now, a year and a half, 2 years. It's a single top podcast I've sent to anybody about LinkedIn because he gave very specific practical suggestions. And the top one was comments. Comments are the win. Because if you post, it might get seen now and then, and you might see their post 3 weeks later. But if you are constantly commenting, your name is appearing and reminding people and reminding people. Does that make sense? So feel free to drop into the chat what you would do first to get to those LinkedIn posts or anything else you want to ask, but hopefully that gives you help. So, Morgan, for your signature storytelling series, very similar kind of thing. Who is this for? What kind of stories do you have? What is the outcome? What is it that you want them to get or feel or do? So are you telling the story simply to get them to follow you? Are you telling them to get them to say, wow, that's my story too. I need to fill in a form. So thinking about why you're doing it and why it's beneficial for them, and then you can ask AI to say, okay, ask me questions about these stories. Ask me questions about how it's going to benefit them, what they most want to know from this story. If you're using the PFGPT, you can go in and ask it for a case studies template or a testimonials template. We have all of those loaded in there. And those are really useful for crafting a case study or a story based on what you've done for a client. How have you transformed things from start to finish? It's also a great way, side quest, to get Google reviews. Because if you start working on that and go, do you know this client came in with these issues and we got to this issues and we've summarized all of this, I'm going to drop them a note and ask them if they wouldn't mind putting some of these wordings into a Google review, which is going to help you immensely for SEO, findability, people being able to see that you're there, and currency as well. So if the initial storytelling series is to gain followers and then retain established authority. So if it's to gain followers, then you want to ask it to ask you questions about what kind of stories are going to grab their attention, keep their attention, and cause them to want more of those stories. And this is where you're going to need not just your ideal clients, any notes or recordings or meetings that you've had. What kind of stories have I mean, if you uploaded your last month's worth of client meetings and said, where was there a point that I told a story that somebody said, wow, that's really interesting. That really resonates with me. Find one of those. And this again is where AI shines. The number of times I've just dumped in loads of meeting notes and be like, can you find this? And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that existed. I forgot I even said that. And again, tell AI not to reword your words. It's going to try and reword you and make you sound professional. Tell it not to because you need your word for word words because that's going to sound more human and it's going to cause people to relate to you. So if you tell a particular story, like me telling about my client and the wine bar and all of that, if AI reworded that to make it sound more broad, it wouldn't sound like me anymore. So that's what I would use it for. Does that help, Morgan? Let me know if you have any other questions you want to ask about getting to that. I think starting with the structure, that's a good tip for all of you. It's so tempting to jump straight to, can you write me website copy? Can you write me a social post? Before you do that, ask it for structure. Ask it to say, let's figure out what are the social posts, what social platform. And we're back to Hillary's question. Where are these people hanging out? Are they even on this platform? How many of them? And then how often are we doing these posts? Who are they for? What are we trying to achieve by it? What act as an Instagram expert and tell me the top things that resonate the most with people on Instagram and cause them to follow. And it's probably going to tell you that it's reels and certain kinds of reels. And you could go, okay, cool. I'm just going to create a couple reels like that because that is what to do. And then you use AI to be like, help me come up with a script for my reel. Here's the audience. Here's the approach we want to take. Here's three reels that give you an example of that. Help me put this together. So hopefully you guys can see that by now, and it is a little unfortunate because I'm sure you're tempted to be like, yes, I'm going to come to this masterclass. I'm going to know instantly how to do it. And I'm going to have all these posts. And now I've given you more work. But the reason I'm giving you more work and I'm making you push back is because that will get you a better result. And it's not a guaranteed result. And that's why you need your marketing analytics and check how it's working. But it's going to be a lot more effective than some of the things that we've all seen that were like, it's just so bland. You know, it just sounds like nothing. So no wonder it's not resonating. So that's the kind of prompt thing. And I mentioned this a little bit throughout. Tell it who to act as. That's one of the things we've trained the PF GPT to do is to say, who do you want me to act as? You want me to act as a client? You want me to act as a prospect? You want me to act as a senior social media expert with who has worked in LinkedIn and knows that platform? Uh, Anything that you tell it to ask you or act as will then help you to get more out of it because a lot of this stuff is in your head. Not all of it. And again, AI can help you find things that you don't know, especially when we get to market research. But when you ask it to ask you questions, there's more after the first thought that comes from it. One of the LinkedIn posts I was writing, I finally just did the dictation and I ended up saying something. I was like, that's kind of clever, that little phrase. I kind of like that. I don't even know where that came from because it removes the pressure. If you're trying to write a LinkedIn post, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so important. If you're just babbling in a dictation to GPT, it doesn't matter. You can just say stuff and then have it summarize it. So definitely ask it to act as and ask it to ask you questions, and whatever answer it gives you, turn that into another question and a deeper level. The last one there is really helpful if you have something that either has been popular or has worked. I would normally recommend waiting until you have some data on this. But for example, if you have done a LinkedIn post that's one of your top LinkedIn posts ever, if you can say, I'd love to take the content of this post and turn it into an Instagram post or a blog post or a video or a TikTok video or an Instagram reel, and say, can you help me adjust this content for this platform? Can you act as an expert in Instagram or an expert in TikTok and tell me how long this reel needs to be? And what does it need to be, portrait or landscape? And what would be the best way to start? What would be the best way to end? Can you give me a short thing to say right at the beginning of the video that's going to help people to want to watch the rest of the video? And that's that stackable content we've talked about in the past. If you've seen anything from PF, is once you have one piece of content that works, you can turn it into all kinds of things. You can take a blog post and turn it into a carousel of images that you put on Instagram, and then you have a link for people to go read the blog and watch the video. And you record the video and you put it in the blog post, and then you get a 2 minute or a 1 minute version of it and put it on LinkedIn. And then you create a LinkedIn article. AI can help you adjust it per platform based on what works by that platform. The things that work on LinkedIn are longer storytelling, one sentence with breaks. Instagram tends to be shorter and also video. Um, Blog post needs to be lots of words, but with good headers. So again, you could say, act as a expert in WordPress and tell me what kinds of headers. Act as an SEO expert and ask me questions about what kind of words I need to include. It's not going to be perfect. You probably do actually need a strategic SEO review to be able to do that, but you can get some initial info that will help it be a little bit further. I just saw Louise's comment about where you can find a summary of this. Honestly, once we get the recording, we can just put it into GPT and get a transcript of it. And then you can say, hey, can you ask me questions about what I learned in this masterclass and how I can do a better blog post? And that's the beauty of all of this content. There's so much content available. And again, this is where AI shines, is gathering and gathering and pointing it out and finding it. So as you're doing all of these things, you're having it help you remember because if you're anything like me, brain power is not quite there always. And you're looking for things that you might have missed. I mean, the number of times I've had a sales call and I think I know what was most important to them. And then I ask AI to say, what did they repeat multiple times that seemed really important to them? I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even remember that. That was just like a regular question. But if that's important to them, that's the thing that you send them content on. And it's very applicable for your sales because before you send them the proposal with a video, I hope that whenever you send a proposal or quote, always send it with a video. They're going to forget at least 60% of what you said on the call. Send it with a video, and in your video, say one of the things you mentioned a few times was this. I want to make sure I address it. And you're going to look like a genius, whereas you're using AI to pull out those things that they actually care about because, again, this is another strength of AI. It is seeing it a little more objectively. It's not seeing it through your lens. So, you know that concept of we make up a story in our mind. We're story minded. So if we don't know why, we make up a story to tell us why. Brené Brown talks about this a lot. So if a prospect does not sign and we don't have any other information, we go, oh, we were too expensive. Oh, it was, they just didn't like us. You know, we were too big, we were too small. And actually, it might be none of those things. So if you have the data, now AI is going to make up its own stories sometimes, that's another issue. But if you have the data to upload in there, then you can ask it, what are the patterns? What are the questions? What are the things I might be missing here? And then it can help you to create those blog posts and create the website content. I just realized I didn't answer the question about website. I mean, sort of did because it's the same sort of thing. But I would say website is a different category of content because there's so much that is strategic about a website. It's a totally different kind of platform. You want much less words. You want to focus on calls to action and assets and a journey. There's a flow to a website. You don't want to just create a page and create another page and create another page. And whilst you don't want to look like every other accountant, you also need to have a standard number of pages, certain types of pages. The home page, the about page, the services page, ideally a pricing page, contact page. There's some standards that people expect. So you are going to have those, but there's a strategic flow to like why you're creating this, who you're creating it for, what page they go to, what page they go to next. So there's a lot of questions, Ashley, I would say need to get asked for website copy because it actually starts before the copy, which is what pages do you need and why? What order do that you want them to go in? What is your one big call to action for the whole site? And is it everywhere? What is your secondary call to action, which is like an asset or a free thing or something that doesn't require much? And how do you structure the whole thing? By the time you get to the website copy, that almost becomes the easy part. The reason website copy can be hard is because we're trying to figure out on our own, well, I guess everybody has an about page. Can you write me an about page? Again, tell it to act as a story brand expert and ask you questions about what is your story? Why does your firm exist? What's your vision? What's your mission? What do you want to achieve? What are your values? Who's your team? Why does it matter? Why do you matter as an accountancy firm? Ask it to ask you those things. So you could take it page by page, but I would definitely recommend taking a step back and making sure you strategically know how your website is being set up and why. And you know, we can help with that. You can get your current website reviewed, and we will give you some tips on what you could change. But you can also book a website strategy session with us to ask some of those questions. But again, you're welcome to do that with AI first. Just remember to never accept the first answer, as we said. So we've gone through some of those ideas that you guys have given, which is great. And the next question I want you to ask is how you know the AI is helping. And that's going to be one of the next couple sessions. So session 2 is on marketing research and insights, so your clients and your audience. And session 3 is going to be about tracking your marketing data. Now that one, yeah, hopefully it sounds interesting to you as accountants, data analytics, but it's because ultimately the question we're asking is, how do you know AI is helping you? Is it just faster to write a blog post? That's nice, but is it impacting? Are people engaging with your posts? And again, you could ask AI, Why might people not be engaging with my posts? What is not attractive about my post versus this post that's super helpful? So asking questions about that is going to be really useful. So this is the AI Marketing Accelerator. It's the same accelerator that many of you have seen before. If you haven't, it just goes through these 12 elements. But we do have an AI focus, which means like this masterclass, we're going to be digging in deeper on how AI can help you write blogs, how AI can help you create a script for a video and edit videos and all of this. So if that would be useful to you, those coaching sessions, they're sort of like this master class, but with a lot more unmuting and people sharing and applying it specifically to your situation. And this code here, this countdown 20, if you use that, you'll get 20% off. So that's good until the end of December. So any of these, actually, it's good till the end of January. Any of these master classes, you can use it. Thank you, Beth. Just click straight through to there. If you're ready to go, just fill it in, use that code, get yourself signed up. Because once you come into this, you're in the Slack channel. Any content you create, anything you do with AI, you can share with us, and I or the team will review it. We'll send you a video. We'll give you some tips. We'll help you know how to do it better. So all of that very practical support, and that starts straight away. If you sign up today, you get that support starting today, even though the sessions don't start till January. So I just want to make sure you guys have that. But either way, please do come to the next two sessions. Part 2 is in January, part 3 is early Feb, and we'll give those to you. If you have any other things you want, I saw a question about some specific apps. So Notebook LM, we will 100% be using that one in the next session. We'll look at those other ones too. I'll make a note of those. But if there's anything else you want to know about AI and how it helps you with your marketing, either drop it into the chat or drop us a note. You can email team@wearepf.com or find us on any of the socials. And most of all, just really appreciate you guys being here today and listening and thinking of ways that you can do better. I would love to hear how you get on. So please do feel free to say, hey, I tried this. What do you think? You know how once you use a GPT, you can actually share the GPT link? Just send that link to us and be like, hey, here's what I came up with. What do you think? How did I do? And we're happy to help give you some direction there. So get cracking on that. Let me know how you go, and we'll see you at the next session. Thanks, everyone.